having been accused of being in the conspiracy biz, which I'm really not, but, that's what people think. The best of the best is the moon landing issue. I've got friends of mine who were still sending me things constantly saying, did you see this? I said, this was 1969. Well, the first one. What do you... And it is a living, breathing controversy that I find fascinating. And I admittedly know nothing about it. I tell you this. But that's the most important thing in the world. And the question is very simply this. Why do people, some deeply patriotic Americans, why have they become obsessed with, in effect, disqualifying, or dismantling, or disproving the very events that represent the height of national achievement, such as the moon landing? And perhaps more urgently, if the moon landing were fake, why haven't our geopolitical enemies, Russia, China, Iran, why haven't they exposed it, especially given how humiliating and explosive such a revelation would be and how they would have inside track? Certainly Russia would. We're not just talking about a quote, tinfoil hat. It's actually aluminum. Some theory here. We're talking about the crown jewel of 20th century American exceptionalism, Apollo 11, and for the human race, being dragged into the shadows by a culture increasingly allergic to trust and seemingly, listen to this, addicted to the belief that everything, even triumph, must be a lie. Huh? Let's start with the first part. Why hasn't a rival nation exposed a supposed hoax, if there were one? Think about this. During the Cold War, the Soviets were tracking every single telemetry and radio frequency they could intercept. They were following NASA's moves like laser-like intensity. And they were desperate to beat the U.S. to the moon. And if America had faked it, do we really think that the USSR then, the very nation that launched the first satellite, the first man, and the first woman into space, would have stayed quiet and still remain quiet? If it's obvious to all these folks that it was Kubrick and this and the soundstage, they would have blown the whistle at the UN, on international broadcasts, in propaganda leaflets. It would have been nonstop. Instead, the Soviet Union congratulated the U.S. They acknowledged the win. Why? Because they were listening. They were watching. And they knew it was real, right? Huh? I tell friends of mine this. I said, what about this? Same for China today. With its growing technological sophistication and its constant, inexorable quest to undermine U.S. legitimacy on the world stage, if there were any single solid, credible proof the moon landing had been staged, it would be used relentlessly as propaganda. But there's nothing. Radio amateurs across the world tracked Apollo's path, I guess. It's what I hear. Laser reflectors placed on the lunar surface by Apollo missions are still used today, so I hear. Moon rock, studied by hundreds of scientists around the globe, many outside of U.S. control, match lunar origin signatures, so I hear. No adversary, no ally, no scientist, no astrophysicist has ever produced hard evidence of a hoax. That silence speaks volumes. So what is it? So then why do people still question it? Why? Why? You can't believe it. Because some people don't want the truth. They want control over uncertainty. Disbelief in major events often stems from the fear that the world is ruled maybe by forces beyond comprehension. The moon landing isn't just a scientific event. It's a symbol. It's America at its most confident, capable, and heroic. And disbelieving it Disbelieving it allows a person to believe that they're the smartest one in the room, maybe, that they've seen through the curtain, that they know the real story. Is that it? The sheep missed. They missed. That's a bray, I guess. Is a bray a mule? Anyway, a bleat, a sheep's bleat, well, whatever the particular verb is, that it was some kind of a psychological compensation for feelings of powerlessness. Look, if you've been lied to by institutions, as we all have, if you've seen government failures, media bias, or corporate fraud, then distrusting the moon landing becomes kind of a symbolic stand-in for distrusting everything. It's not about the moon anymore. It's about never being duped again. You're not going to get me this time. No, sirree. But there's something darker in this, too, if you can imagine that. Something rooted in cultural self-destruction. Today, as you know, many Americans seem more interested in finding reasons to dismantle their country's greatest glories, right? To disassemble than to celebrate them. Why? And there's a type of cynicism that says, if America did it, it must be a lie. You see this in education and media and activism. You know, the moon landing, arguably the most noble endeavor of peaceful exploration in human history, celebrated as a significance of mankind, has been turned into a battleground for what? Nihilism? And for some, it's no longer enough to question Vietnam or Watergate or 9/11 or JFK. They have to reach back and strip the stars off the flag one by one, plucking our sense of accomplishment. And this obsession with disproving greatness, particularly among greatness, American greatness that is, also reveals something even more interesting about the pathology. You see, the pathology of modern doubt. Unlike the JFK assassination, which is rooted in very, very real evidence of multiple investigations, lost documents, contradictory witness testimony, and provable motives, the moon landing denial is almost kind of anti-evidence. It thrives on the lack of evidence and then twists what is available into something sinister. Why is the flag fluttering? You've heard this before. Why no stars in the sky? Why the shadows? These questions have long been answered by physics, photography, and environmental science, as we've been told. What about the astronauts themselves afterwards? The way they act so weird, and they won't really. It's like they're hiding something. But the answers don't matter. The answers don't matter because belief in the hoax, I guess, is no longer about facts. It's about identity. You see, it's about a person's psychological need to say, I know something you don't. I'm not falling for it. Like the rest of you lemmings, you sheeple, right? And there's another layer. The religious instinct to desecrate idols. I know. The moon landing wasn't just an American triumph. I know. It was humanity's triumph. I understand that. And for the first time, man left his home planet, as the story goes, and stepped into another celestial body, or onto, I should say. And that's a moment of awe, of transcendence. And yet in a culture that increasingly mocks sacredness and sanctity, there's an impulse to take something beautiful and proud and defile it, to make it small, to bring it down to our level. It's as if we can't handle awe anymore because we turned it into irony or cynicism. The moon landing's very success, it makes it a target because it reminds us of what we're no longer doing. And that may be the most painful truth of all. That may be it. Think about it. We question the moon landing, maybe. We question it today because we haven't done anything that big since. We live in an age of micro achievements. You know, app updates and hashtag activism and awareness and whatever. AI is pretty good, but that's hard to really put down in the specifics as to what it is. We stopped becoming who we were. We stopped, quote, reaching for the stars and started arguing over bathrooms and pronouns and this crap that we're going through. The moon landing feels too big, too loud, too American. And we deny ourselves that. And in the minds of many, believe it or not, it no longer fits the narrative. So rather than rise to match it, we choose to destroy it. But the psychology behind it doesn't end in resentment. It ends in longing. See, deep down, those who doubt may not hate the moon landing. They may, in fact, actually yearn for something that inspires them again. Maybe that's it. They may want to believe in something great, something that unites us. But they've been trained to see greatness as manipulation. They've confused a sense of awe with propaganda. They've learned to doubt, but not to discern. And that's where the tragedy lies. That's where it is. Now, in the end, the moon landing is real. The footage, the telemetry data, the rocks, the science, the global consensus, we are told it all supports it. And you must understand this. But the disbelief is real too. And it says less about NASA and more about us, about what we've become, what you've become, and about how far we've fallen from that moment in 1969. I remember that. I was 11 years old. 11 years old. Or almost 11. A month before 11. When all of humanity looked up and said, we did it. We did it. And today we look at the very moment, the very same moment, and we say, they probably faked it. It's gone, this sense of pride. And maybe the real hoax isn't that we went to the moon. Maybe the hoax is that we've been, I guess, what's been done to our minds ever since about our sense of accomplishment. Think about this deeper than what's been presented. And if you happen to be one of those people who says, oh, come on, nobody's really questioning it, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea. This is a full-blown, full cottage industry. 24/7 people live for this. They thrive on this. They love this. I mean, they love this stuff. Don't ever dismiss this. Don't ever think this is something that's beyond the realm of whatever. Oh, no. So think about that. I'd love to see your thoughts and comments. Please, also in the sections, put down the best evidence that you know. If you are a disbeliever or if you are whatever, I invite it. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not really able to say much of what, and I'm not trying to dodge the issue. I really don't know. It's not my thing. But what I do know is that I would be most honored if you were to like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe. 80% of the people who watch us don't subscribe. Hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos or whatever you do. I beg, beseech, importune, entreat, and ask respectfully that you comment as you see fit.